Welcome back to the grand finale of our Explainer series. Okay, so today we're officially leaving the theory behind us. We're getting right down to business with a strictly chronological, super practical roadmap for legally bringing your car over to the Canary Islands. And honestly, the most important part, we're going to show you how to do all of this without getting hit by nasty, unexpected costs. We'll break down exactly how to get your car over stress-free as part of your moving goods, figure out what prep work is absolutely essential, and how you can dodge some seriously expensive mistakes. Let's just dive right in.
All right, really quick, here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the golden basic rule. Then we'll walk through arrival and customs, how to provide your proofs, what to expect in the strict customs audit, how to get from customs to your final registration, and finally, how to actually succeed in the Canaries.
Section 1, the golden basic rule. Okay, before we get bogged down in forms and minor details, we really need to understand the absolute baseline logic here. You see, while the Canary Islands are politically part of Spain, from a customs perspective, they actually aren't part of the EU VAT area. So what does that mean for you? It means bringing your car from the European mainland is legally considered a real, actual import. Normally, that means taxes and duties. Unless, of course, you fall under the moving goods exemption. And that brings us to our golden rule. You absolutely must memorize this. Import is strictly about customs. They're basically just asking, hey, can this vehicle enter tax-free? Registration, on the other hand, is a totally separate process that happens way later. That's the traffic authority asking, is this car safe and can we greenlight it for the road? Keep that separation in mind because it is the absolute foundation for everything we're about to cover.
Moving right along to Section 2, Arrival and Customs Declaration.
Let's mentally step onto the port for a second. It's incredibly important to realize that just because your car physically arrives off the boat in all its glory doesn't mean it's legally imported yet. Physically, sure, it's there. Legally, it's kind of just floating in a vacuum. You can't just hop in and drive it like a local car right away. Now, there is a small loophole here. If your car arrives with its old license plate still registered, you do get a temporary driving window. But listen, the clock is ticking loudly. You get a strict 6-month window, and day one starts the exact moment you register your main residence, your empadronamiento, on the islands.
And let's go ahead and bust a massive internet forum myth right now. There is no magical secret moving goods form for your car. It literally doesn't exist. Instead, you're going to use the standard H1 Customs Declaration. Yep, the exact same paperwork commercial importers use. The only difference, and it's the one that saves your wallet, is that on this specific form, you officially note that you're claiming an exemption from import duties because you are moving.
So the success formula is actually pretty straightforward. You take that standard H1 form, link it cleanly and completely watertight with your moving goods exemption, and boom, you've got a legal, tax-free import. If you don't use this exact combination, the system simply won't work for you. All right, Section 3, providing the necessary proofs. Look, customs officers aren't just going to take your word for it that you're moving. You have to bring the receipts. First, you need proof of your relocation, so deregistering at your old home and registering in the Canaries. You also need to prove you actually owned and used the car prior to the move, but pay super close attention to this last one, continuous vehicle registration. If your car was continuously registered right up until the import, that is by far the strongest proof that your car is authentically yours and not just some cheap bargain you bought yesterday specifically to import tax-free. You have to forget this idea of a bored bureaucrat just mindlessly ticking boxes on a checklist. Customs officers are practically detectives. They're looking at the overall narrative of your documents. They want to see if the whole story locks together. Does your car purchase date make sense with your moving date? Does your paperwork tell a logical story? It all has to interlock perfectly, otherwise you are absolutely going to run into problems.
Section 4, the strict customs audit.
This is the auditing phase that so many people completely underestimate. I want you to step into the mind of a customs officer opening your file. Their number one priority, their very first thought is making sure you didn't buy this car just to score a tax-free island import. Was it genuinely used? If your vehicle was suddenly deregistered right before the import, trust me, the red warning lights are flashing. They will put your car's history under a microscope. See, your moving boxes full of old sweaters and paperbacks, those usually breeze right through. Cars are a whole different beast. High-value cars trigger hurdles. You need to fully expect follow-up questions. They might suddenly ask for historical documents you thought you'd never need again. Or, and this happens more often than you think, an officer might literally go down to the port and physically inspect the vehicle themselves. This strict audit literally dictates your fate here. If you pass, great. Your car stays a cheap, tax-free moving good. But if you fail, you instantly slide over into the normal import category, which means getting hit with massive taxes and duties. So that supposedly cheap car can become a total financial nightmare in a split second.
Moving on to Section 5, from customs to registration.
Assuming you survive the customs audit and a huge weight lifts off your chest, we can finally look at the ultimate goal, getting your car on the road. Now, I cannot stress this enough, okay? This is a strictly sequential process. First the import, then the registration. The traffic authority will flat out block you if you don't have a final spotless customs certificate in your hand. Seriously, don't even bother walking into the traffic office until customs has put their final stamp of approval on your paperwork. Okay, so you've got that golden customs certificate. Now you just face 3 final physical hurdles. First up, you take the car to the ITV, that's the Spanish tech check, just to prove the car is mechanically sound. Second, you tackle the actual registration paperwork with Trafico. And finally, the best part, you get to screw on those brand new Spanish license plates. And finally, Section 6, succeeding in the Canaries. Let's be totally honest about the mindset you need to survive this without losing your sanity. Please, abandon the illusion right now that this is some quick 3-click online process you can do from your couch on your smartphone. It's not. It is a highly pedantic marathon reviewed by real humans. The authorities will have questions. And your absolute best and, frankly, only defense against total chaos, frustration, and extra costs is just meticulously, obsessively good preparation. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one critical thing to chew on. Thinking about everything we've covered today, take a hard look at your Spanish skills and maybe your tolerance for bureaucracy, and ask yourself honestly, is this something you should tackle completely alone? Or is it time to bring in an expert? Because for anyone who jumps into this adventure fully prepared, all's well that ends well. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, best of luck with your move.